Brondello looked at Paige Bueckers and said, hell no, I'm good on that. Damn, you hate to see it, but you love to see it. Sandy Brondello gets offered a big contract, more money than she took at the Toronto Tempo, to come to Dallas and coach one Paige Bueckers, and Sandy Brondello said, you know what? I'm good on that. I'll take my...
What does it mean when the most coveted coach in basketball looks at a once-in-a-generation talent and a blank check and simply says, no, I'm good? This wasn't just a career move. It was a power play that sent shockwaves through the entire WNBA, exposing the hidden truths about money, power, and what top-tier leaders really want. The story of Sandy Brondello's free agency is a drama of shocking rejections, desperate franchises, and a decision that no one saw coming. If you think you know how sports contracts work, this story will make you think again. And before we dive in, if you're fascinated by the behind-the-scenes drama that shapes the leagues we love, make sure to like this video and subscribe for more deep dives you won't find anywhere else.
Reports come out, the Dallas Wings will keep head coach Chris Conclains, whatever his name is, heading into his second season as the coach. Fast forward 24 hours, Sandy Brondello was fired as the New York Liberty coach. Fast forward 24 hours after that, Chris, you've been relieved of your duties. We are going after Sandy Brondello. Let's get right into it. Please like the video, comment, subscribe. I appreciate all of the support we've been getting this offseason. Sandy Brondello turned down more money to coach the Tempo.
It all started with a quiet, earth-shattering rejection. The Dallas Wings were convinced they had their future secured, believing they had won the ultimate lottery by securing the draft rights to Paige Bueckers, a player so universally touted that she was considered not just a future star, but the next face of the entire league. The hype wasn't just media fabrication. It was built on a collegiate career of breathtaking highlights, a unique blend of court vision, scoring prowess, and clutch performance that made her a marketing dream and a scout's fantasy. All they needed was the architect, the championship-proven coach who could transform this raw, generational potential into a lasting empire. Their target was Sandy Brondello, a coach fresh off leading the New York Liberty to a title, and a respected figure known for her defensive schemes and ability to manage superstar egos. And they were willing to pay whatever it took, opening the vault in a way few WNBA teams ever had for a coach.
Appreciate all of the support we've been getting this offseason. Sandy Brondello turned down more money to coach the Tempo. Two-time championship-winning coach Sandy Brondello had her own free agency experience this fall after the New York Liberty fired her in September, less than a year removed from leading the franchise to its first title. New York still hasn't signed a head coach. Remember how they made it seem like they had some NBA talent lined up? Some possibles all ready to backfill? Seems like the general manager of the New York Liberty were blowing smoke up y'all asses.
Reports confirmed the offer was not just huge. It was the largest financial package on the table, a sum that surpassed what she would eventually accept in Toronto. The pitch was, on the surface, perfect. A once-in-a-decade talent, maximum cash, and the promise of total control to shape the roster as she saw fit. The entire basketball world, from analysts to fans, waited for the inevitable announcement, seeing it as a foregone conclusion that any coach would leap at such a combination. But then, the news broke, sending a tremor through the league. Brondello had looked at the Dallas Wings offer, at the chance to coach Paige Bueckers, and at all that money. And her response was a flat, stunning, hell no, I'm good on that. The silence from the Dallas front office was deafening, a vacuum of confusion and embarrassment. They had been completely blindsided, their entire offseason plan, which seemed so foolproof, collapsing in an instant.
Some possibles all ready to backfill? Seems like the general manager of the New York Liberty were blowing smoke up y'all asses. We're what, a month removed from that now? 3 weeks removed from that now, and we still haven't figured out who the head coach of the New York Liberty is going to be? Did the person who they had pegged say, I'm good, the NBA season's about to start, I'll just stay here? What's going on there in New York? And is the GM going to be on the hot seat? I'm seeing things about Breanna Stewart and Jonquil Jones. I'll dive into that maybe later, maybe tomorrow, maybe never.
This wasn't just a rejection. It was a fundamental challenge to their entire project, making everyone wonder what they knew that the public did not. This rejection wasn't just a simple no. It was a culmination of a desperate, all-in gamble by the Dallas Wings that exploded in their faces. A story of putting all your eggs in one basket, only to watch the basket deliberately walk away. The moment Sandy Brondello became a free agent, the Dallas front office moved with a ruthless efficiency that betrayed their anxiety. In a stunning sequence of events that left the basketball world reeling, the Wings shockingly fired their own head coach, Chris Conlon, just days after publicly announcing he would return for his second season. This wasn't a coincidence or a sudden change of heart about Conlon's abilities. It was a calculated, public sacrifice designed to clear the deck specifically for Brondello.
Franchises Brondello received offers from, according to multiple sources: the Wings, the Storm, and the Toronto Temple. Indeed. Just like any other top free agent, Brondello had to outline her priorities. For some, the top priority is location. For others, it's money. And then there are those who only care about fit and winning. In the end, Brondello fell into the latter category. Despite receiving a more lucrative offer from another WNBA suitor, according to multiple sources, Brondello accepted the Temple job because of the collaboration she felt with the team's front office.
They were sending an unmistakable signal to the league, and most importantly, to her, that she was their one and only choice, the singular solution to all their problems. They saw her not just as a coach, but as a final, critical piece of their championship puzzle, the one who could uniquely maximize Paige Bueckers' otherworldly potential and attract other free agents. Their pursuit was aggressively singular. Their offer was structured to be undeniable, and their entire vision was built entirely around her legendary player development skills. They were so supremely confident in the lure of their pitch, the money, the player, the control, that they likely never even considered the possibility of a refusal, operating with a level of certainty that now seems arrogant.
Sources told Front Office Sports she signed a multi-year contract that pays her 7 figures. This will make her one of the highest paid coaches in the WNBA, joining Nate Tibbetts and Las Vegas Aces coach Becky Hammon as the 3 known coaches in the league earning at least $1 million salary. Former Liberty assistant Sony Rahman was hired by the Seattle Storm, and while the terms of her deal have not been disclosed, league sources told Front Office Sports that her multi-year deal has a high 6-figure yearly salary with the potential to eclipse $1 million with bonuses.
But in one fell swoop, Brondello's calm, deliberate decision left them utterly stranded, without their top coaching target, without a plan B, and with a recently fired coach they now had to explain their way back to, completely exposed and scrambling to pick up the pieces of a shattered strategy. To understand why her choice was so shocking, you have to understand just how powerful a free agent Sandy Brondello was, a status earned through decades of success both as a player and a coach. Just a month earlier, she had been surprisingly, and many argued foolishly, fired by the New York Liberty. The move sent ripples of confusion and criticism throughout the WNBA, a league where coaching stability is often prized. This was a coach less than a year removed from delivering the franchise its first ever championship, a feat that should have guaranteed job security for years. Letting her go seemed like an inexplicable decision, a massive gamble by the Liberty's front office that defied conventional wisdom.
Let me show you. This is the place I wanted to be, Brondello said Tuesday. To build a team from the ground up, that really excited me. She could have built the team from the ground up with Dallas, with Paige and Quinterly, and gutted the whole roster. But she chose to do it in Toronto. Again, could that logic apply to Seattle? It could. But based on Aneka Ogwumike's...
But for every other team with a coaching vacancy, it was a golden opportunity, an unexpected gift falling from the sky. Suddenly, a proven winner, a strategic mastermind with championship pedigree and immense respect from players, was on the open market without the baggage of having been let go for failure. It sparked an immediate and fierce bidding war, the likes of which the league rarely sees for coaching talent. Front offices knew that a coach of her caliber, available in the prime of her career, became available only once in a blue moon. She wasn't just a coach. She was a franchise-altering acquisition, a person who could instantly elevate a team's credibility and performance. Teams were ready to open their checkbooks wide, genuinely believing she was a master key to unlocking their own championship dreams, which made her one of the most powerful and influential figures in the entire offseason, holding the future of several franchises in her hands.
Who are worse than the veterans that I was just coaching? Why would I go to Agumake, who's worse than Stewart? Why would I go to Skylar, who's worse than Sabrina? Why would I go to Ezzy, who's worse than Jonquil Jones? Why would I do that? Yes, Andy, why would you do that? Why would you do that? I would trade my whole team for her, but here we have no thanks. I'll take less money. I thought Paige had motion. Yeah, everybody knows that it's Paige. Everybody knows that it was the Dallas Wings. I mean, we can try to make it seem like the Seattle Storm.
The fallout from her firing in New York only deepened the mystery surrounding Brondello's value and exposed potentially serious flaws within the Liberty's organization. After dismissing their championship coach in a move that was widely panned, the Liberty's front office immediately went into a predictable mode of damage control, attempting to reassure a furious fan base. They put on a public face of supreme confidence, subtly suggesting to fans and the media through leaks and insinuations that they had a deep bench of elite, even NBA-level, coaching talent ready and waiting to step in. They created a narrative that replacing a champion coach like Sandy Brondello was going to be a seamless, almost preordained process, and that they were simply upgrading. But then, reality set in. Days turned into weeks. A full month passed. The New York Liberty's head coaching chair remained conspicuously, embarrassingly empty. That glaring, unresolved vacancy told a very different story from the one they were selling. It began to seem like the general manager might have been blowing smoke, overstating their preparedness and leverage in a desperate attempt to save face and cover for what was increasingly looking like a rash, ill-conceived decision. The promised lineup of top-tier replacements never materialized, raising serious questions about the front office's credibility, their decision-making process, and their ability to actually attract a top coach after the way they handled Brondello. The very decision to fire her was now under a microscope, and the executive who made the call was suddenly sitting on a very hot seat, their professional judgment being questioned not just by fans, but likely by their own players and ownership. So, with Dallas desperate and New York in disarray, the high-stakes battle for Sandy Brondello officially began, a quiet war fought in boardrooms and over phone lines. According to multiple sources, 3 teams emerged as the finalists, each presenting a radically different vision for her future, and each prepared to back it up with serious financial commitment. The Dallas Wings, with their massive financial package and the undeniable allure building around Paige Bueckers, represented the path of immediate, superstar-driven relevance. The Seattle Storm, a legacy franchise with deep pockets, a proud history, and their own talented roster featuring stars like Jewel Lloyd, was also prepared to pay a premium, offering a blend of money and established culture. And then there was the dark horse, the Toronto Tempo, an expansion team looking to make a huge splash and build an entire identity from scratch, offering a blank canvas. The competition was intense and multifaceted. Every front office was laying out their detailed vision, sweetening their deals with incentives, and doing everything in their power to sway her decision, treating her with the reverence of a top free agent player. It was a high-stakes negotiation that would define the future trajectory of multiple franchises for years to come. We now know that Brondello's eventual contract with Toronto was a multi-year, 7-figure deal that instantly placed her among the WNBA's coaching elite in a rarefied financial club with names like Becky Hammon. But the critical, mind-bending detail was this. Despite Toronto's huge offer, the Dallas Wings had reportedly put an even more lucrative contract on the table. This fact shifted the entire paradigm of the negotiation. The question was no longer about money. It was about philosophy, fit, and everything else that doesn't appear on a balance sheet. Many assumed the real competition was between the 2 established offers from Dallas and Seattle. So, why did Sandy Brondello also turn her back on the Seattle Storm, a franchise with such a rich history? It turns out her decision-making process was brutally logical and reflected the cold, hard calculus a competitor at the peak of her powers. From her perspective, moving to Seattle, despite its appeal, felt like a distinct step backward. She had just coached a super team in New York, a roster constructed with MVPs like Breanna Stewart and Jonquel Jones, and a fellow star in Sabrina Ionescu. When she dispassionately evaluated the Storm's roster, she saw a clear downgrade in top-end talent, and perhaps a less clear path to immediate contention. League insiders suggest she privately questioned the logic of the move, mentally comparing Seattle's veterans to her former stars. Why would she go to a Jewel Lloyd, a fantastic scorer, who she might view as a step down from the all-around, system-friendly game of Sabrina Ionescu? Why would she build her front court around an easy-eye Magbeggar, as promising and defensively gifted as she is, when she was used to coaching a dominant, former MVP force of nature like Jonquel Jones? For Brondello, it wasn't just about securing a high salary. It was about securing an immediate and realistic path to winning another championship. She looked at the Seattle situation, weighed the roster, and determined that the fit was all wrong for her ambitions. The money was certainly there, but the winning potential, at least in the short term and in her expert eyes, was not sufficient to justify the move. This leads to the core of the mystery that captivated the WNBA. If it wasn't the most money from Dallas, it wasn't a ready-made, competitive roster in Seattle, why on earth did she choose the Toronto Tempo, an expansion team with no players, no history, and no guarantees? The answer lies in a phrase she used repeatedly and with clear conviction. Building from the ground up. In her introductory press conference, Brondello stated, "This is the place I wanted to be, to build a team from the ground up. That really excited me." This wasn't just corporate speak or a hollow talking point. For a coach of her experience and accomplishment, the chance to be the foundational architect of an entire franchise culture, to handpick players that fit her system, to install philosophies from day one without any pre-existing baggage, is a unique and powerfully seductive lure. It's about legacy in its purest form, the opportunity to put an indelible stamp on something from its very inception. The collaborative spirit she felt with Toronto's front office, the shared long-term vision, and the mutual respect. These intangible factors proved more valuable to her than any extra zeros on a contract from Dallas or the established name of Seattle. She chose the promise of pure creation and absolute alignment over the pressure of immediate expectation and potential organizational dysfunction, a decision that speaks volumes about what truly motivates the best in the business. And this is what makes a rejection of Dallas so profoundly confusing and the key to understanding a major shift in professional sports. Because on the surface, the Dallas Wings were also offering her a chance to build from the ground up. They had Paige Bueckers, a phenomenal cornerstone talent that most coaches would only dream of, but critically, the rest of the roster was widely considered malleable and ripe for overhaul. She could have theoretically gutted it, traded away players who didn't fit her vision, and constructed a team entirely in her image, all with a once-in-a-lifetime talent already in the garage. From a purely talent acquisition perspective, it was arguably an even better build from the ground up scenario than Toronto's, which was starting from absolute zero with an expansion draft and no established stars. In Dallas, she could have had her cake and eaten it too, the generational player, the significantly bigger paycheck, and the chance to be the celebrated architect. Yet, she deliberately walked away from this seemingly perfect storm of opportunity. This forces us to consider a more complex and uncomfortable possibility that goes far beyond simple roster construction. Perhaps Brondello's assessment wasn't just about the abstract building process, but a cold, hard evaluation of the specific building materials and, more importantly, the builders she would have to work with. Her rejection sends a subtle but powerful message that resonates through the entire league. That even a player as hyped and as talented as Paige Bueckers wasn't enough to overcome her underlying concerns about the Dallas organization's internal structure, the stability of their front office, or the clarity of their long-term vision. It suggests that for the modern elite coach who has reached a certain level of success and financial security, the quality and professionalism of the front office is just as important, if not more so, than the quality of the players on the roster. Think about it. A coach is an employee who reports to that front office. Their ability to execute their vision, make trades, sign free agents, and create a positive culture is entirely dependent on the competence and support of the executives above them. If there are doubts about that leadership, whether the history of impulsive decisions, a lack of clear direction, or a reputation for meddling, the entire project becomes a massive risk. A generational talent can win you games, but a dysfunctional front office can lose you your sanity, your reputation, and ultimately your job, no matter how good your star player is. This is where the concept of building diverges. Toronto offered a blank canvas, and Reportedly, a collaborative partnership where she would have a significant voice in every basketball-related decision from the ground floor. Dallas offered a rebuild, but one that likely came with immense, immediate pressure. The presence of Paige Bueckers doesn't invite patience. It demands results. The timeline accelerates from a multi-year construction project to a win now mandate the second she steps on the court. The narrative wouldn't be about Brondello's system. It would be about whether she was maximizing Bueckers. Every loss would be magnified, every lineup decision questioned. In Toronto, the expectations are tempered, the growth curve is expected, and the successes are entirely her own. In Dallas, she would be inheriting both a golden ticket and a gilded cage of external pressure. Furthermore, the very act of Dallas firing their previous coach so abruptly pursue her, while a flattering gesture, could also be perceived as a red flag, a sign of a reactive, potentially impatient organization. Brondello, having just experienced a shocking firing herself from New York, might have valued long-term security and stability over short-term glamour. She didn't just choose a team. She chose an environment. She chose a front office she believed in over a player she would have to manage. In the final calculus, the promise of a harmonious and supportive partnership in Toronto, where she could build a legacy entirely her own, outweighed the seductive but potentially perilous opportunity of a pressured partnership in Dallas. It was a definitive statement that in today's game, the most valuable asset isn't always a superstar player. It's the autonomy to build something lasting. The fallout from this single decision is still being felt across the WNBA. Sandy Brondello's choice was a landmark moment that reshaped the league's coaching landscape. It exposed a fundamental shift in power dynamics. Top coaches are no longer just employees chasing the biggest paycheck. They're strategic partners seeking perfect alignment. They value control, collaboration, and a coherent organizational philosophy above all else, even when that means turning down more money and a superstar player. The Dallas Wings were forced to pivot quickly, their entire offseason strategy in ruins. The New York Liberty were exposed as potentially dysfunctional. The Toronto Tempo instantly became a franchise to watch. This saga proves that in today's game, a franchise player alone can't save a team if the foundation isn't right. And a coach with a clear vision and the leverage to follow can change the fate of not just one team, but an entire league. What do you think was the real reason behind her shocking decision? Was it a power move, a philosophical choice, or something else entirely? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. If you made it to the end of this video, you're clearly someone who loves the deep, untold stories that drive the sports world. We uncover these narratives every single week. So, if you want to stay in the know and understand the why behind the headlines, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. You won't want to miss what we break down next. Thanks for watching.